Hi, Huffacre Hawks. Guess what? Today we're going to read some more from Katherine Applegate's Wish Tree. Ready? Chapter 25. And action, Bongo whispered. Little Flash waddled out to the middle of the lawn. He lay down on his side and curled up. He closed his eyes. He drew back his lips, revealing tiny needle-sharp teeth. Perfect, Bongo said. Try foaming at the mouth, dear, Harry Spiders called. Down the street, we could see Stephen approaching. Luckily, Samar was just a few yards behind him. Flash leapt up. How am I doing, Ma? Wonderfully, my baby, said Harry Spiders. Mommy's so proud of her little bitty opossum. Be dead, Bongo cried. Oh, yeah, Flash shrugged. I kind of forgot, Aunt Bongo. I'm not your aunt, Bongo said. I'm not even a member of your species. Well, that doesn't really matter, I chided. Be dead, Bongo cried again. Flash hiccuped. Oh my, said Harry Spiders. He does that when he's nervous. How come I can't be dead, Mom? Asked Rose Petal. Newbies, quiet, Bongo commanded. Flash, stop hiccuping, dude. Here they come, I whispered. Stephen and Samar. The hiccups got louder. And here's a picture of the little opossum. Flashlight, Bongo said. Now! Don't call him that, his mother cried. Flashlight froze. He stopped hiccuping. Foam dripped from his mouth. His half-open eyes were glazed and unseeing. That works, Bongo whispered. Brilliant. Stephen found Flash first. Samar was close behind. What should we do? Stephen asked. Success, I thought. They were actually talking to each other. Don't touch it, said Samar. It might be rabid, or it could just be playing dead. I read that opossums will do that. I'll go get my mom. Maybe she can call someone. Sounds good, said Samar. To my disappointment, Stephen and Samar nodded at each other and promptly went into their separate houses. And once again, that was that. All that work for just a few moments of conversation? How exactly do people make friends? How hard could it be? Still, I reminded myself, Stephen and Samar had spoken to each other, and that was a good first step, wasn't it? Flash, Bongo called. Time to get back to your den, buddy, before they come back. Flash remained frozen in a little opossum ball. Flash, I called. Flash, baby, Harry Spiders said. Oh my, said Big U. I don't think your baby's acting. My baby, my precious Flash, cried Harry Spiders, and Flash's brothers and sisters began to wail. You really should have used one of my U's, Big U said. Flash, stop being dead, Bongo yelled. She hopped over to Flash and gently poked him with her beak. How dare you peck my son, Harry Spiders yelled. Flash, I'll save you, baby. Harry Spiders dashed out of her hollow, scrambled down my trunk, and promptly fainted. Oh, great, Bongo said. Just fantastic. Like mother, like son. What now, wise old tree? You grab Flash, I instructed. Fresh baked bread and Big U. Can you rescue Harry Spiders? Pull her over to the freshest den under the porch. Harry Spiders called my children boisterous, Big U said. Big U said my children stink, Fresh Baked Bread said. Over 2 centuries of life, and I'd hardly ever raised my voice. This was one of those times. Now, I commanded. Just as the door to Stephen's house opened, you'd be surprised how fast raccoons and skunks can be when they're motivated. Chapter 26. Stephen and his mother eventually gave up trying to find the mysterious baby opossum. Samar watched them from her living room window, but she didn't venture out. After about an hour, Harry Spiders and Flashlight woke up and returned on wobbly legs to their den. And that was that. Don't worry, I told Bongo. 3rd time's the charm. What's that supposed to mean? It's just something people say. Charm, Bongo sneered. Did you know that's what they call a bunch of hummingbirds? No, actually. Hummingbirds, which, let's face it, are pretty much just overdressed flies. But a bunch of us crows together. Guess what we get to be called? What? A murder. A murder of crows. Can you believe it? A bunch of trees? You're a grove. A bunch of raccoons? A gaze. Bongo flapped her wings. But crows, we're murder. We're a murder. Are you quite finished? I asked. Sorry, I'm worried about you, and I get grumpy when I'm worried. Bongo plucked out a piece of new grass and tossed it aside. I have one more plan to get Samar and Stephen talking, I said. How about a plan to get you not turned into a picnic table? I can't control everything in life, Bongo, I said gently, and if I could, what fun could that be? But this little thing, this wish of Samar's, I can make it happen, I hesitated. At least I think I can. I don't understand why this matters to you so much. She reminds me of a little girl I knew a long time ago. You're a Batinsky, said Bongo wearily. I love you anyway. She looked at me with something like the crow version of a smile, beak open, head cocked, eyes gleaming. So what's plan number 3? Chapter 27. Once night had fallen, I sent Bongo on her next mission. All you have to do is untie Samar's wish, I instructed. Oh, she said, is that all? Bongo flew to the low branch where Samar had tied her pink dotted fabric scrap. She yanked on it with her beak several times. Easier said than done, she reported. You're a crow. Use a tool. Crows are well known for making and using tools. They're probably the brainiest birds around. Bongo poked and considered. I have a paperclip in my collection. I'll give that a shot. It'll never work, Agnes predicted from her nest. I think owls are secretly a little bit jealous of crows. One by one, heads poked out of my hollows, as well as the skunk den underneath the porch, to watch Bongo at work. What's Bongo doing, Mom? Asked one of the ewes. It's called tool use, said Big Ewe. No big deal. Folks, if you can't say something helpful, I said, please don't say anything at all. Bongo returned with a small piece of twisted metal. Straightened paper clip, she explained, found it on the school playground. With great effort, she managed to slide the straight end of the clip into the knot. But try as she might, she couldn't pull the knot free. Almost got it, Bongo muttered between her clenched beak. Why is Bongo doing that? Harold asked Agnes. There's no explaining crows, Agnes said. Because I asked her to, I said, because it's important to me. With a frustrated groan, Bongo let the paperclip fall to the ground. It's no use, Red, she said. Maybe it's time to give up on this idea, I said with a sigh. I'm not meant to help. I'm meant to sit here, just sit. A gentle wind rippled my leaves. No one spoke. Wait just a minute, said Big Ewe. Maybe I can lend you a paw. You're awfully heavy for that branch, Agnes pointed out. Let her try, I said. Carefully, Big Ewe inched her way out onto the limb where Samar's wish was tied. She was indeed heavy, and my branch bowed under her weight. But I held firm. She toyed with the knot, used both front paws. Before long, she'd pulled the strip free. Ta-da! She cried, clutching the fabric in her right paw. Well, I did the hard part, Bongo sulked. It was a joint effort, I said. Teamwork, and much appreciated, both of you. You have the wish, said Agnes. Now what, Red? Now we wait until Samar comes to visit, I said, and then Bongo works her magic. Chapter 28. The moon bathed us all in a cool blue light as we awaited Samar's nightly visit. She came out in her robe and slippers, sitting on her blanket. She waited patiently as the baby scrambled over to her. Around her neck, she was wearing the beribboned key that Bongo had given her. Where's my crow friend? She whispered, as the ewes somersaulted in front of her. She looked up into my branches, and I was glad I instructed Bongo to hide on Stephen's roof. Right on schedule, Bongo flew to Stephen's bedroom window. She settled on the sill. Samar's fabric scrap dangled in her beak. Carefully, she tapped on Stephen's window. Nothing happened. I told Bongo to be as quiet as possible. We didn't want Samar to see what we were up to. Tap, tap, tap. Louder this time. Still nothing. Stephen apparently was quite a sound sleeper. Bongo looked at me. Her eyes said, now what? She tried again. Tap, tap, tap. Samar started. What was that? She asked. Fortunately, Harold distracted her with an attempt to fly onto her arm. It was more of an awkward hop than a flight. And Samar giggled. Good going, little Harold, I thought. Bongo dropped Samar's wish onto the sill. Tap, tap, tap. Nothing. She paced back and forth in front of the window, then she froze. Her eyes glinted in the moonlight. Bongo leaned close to the glass and performed her very best fire engine siren. By the time Stephen's window flew open, Bongo was already back on the roof, watching her efforts pay off. Stephen peered out. He rubbed his eyes. He noticed the scrap on his sill. Frowning, he held it up, catching the moonlight in order to read the words written on the fabric. He looked down at the lawn. There was Samar, looking up at him, surrounded by an odd collection of baby animals. "You rock," said Bongo. Chapter 29. When Stephen eased out of the window, he was wearing red pajamas and a gray sweatshirt. His light brown hair was mussed, his eyes bleary. The flashlight he was carrying sliced through the darkness. The babies turned toward him and froze. Their eyes glowed like little moons. Flash squealed in fear. Stephen clicked off his light, and Flash seemed to calm a bit, although he was definitely hiccuping. "Hey," Stephen whispered. "Hey," Samar whispered back. Stephen sat down next to Samar. The babies watched with interest. "Why did they come to you?" Stephen asked. "I don't know. It's like magic." "No," Samar shook her head. "I'm just quiet." "They like that." Bongo flew down to Samar's shoulder. "Hello," she said to Stephen, mimicking Samar's voice. "Wow," he said, "that's amazing. Yesterday I heard her imitate a doorbell." Stephen grinned. "She gave me this key," Samar said, holding it up. "I don't know what it's for, a diary or jewelry box, maybe? Or the world's smallest door," Stephen joked. For a while, everyone felt silent. Even the baby raccoons were still. At last, Stephen held out his hand, revealing Samar's wish. "I found this," he said. Even in the moonlight, Samar's blush was visible. She looked away. "I'm sorry about that word," Stephen said softly. "The word on the tree? It wasn't us." Samar nodded. "My parents aren't bad people. They're just afraid of things," Stephen shrugged. "So are mine," said Samar. "I heard my father talking about moving. If we can find a safe place to go," she gave a sad smile. "If there's even such a place." "I'm sorry," Stephen said again. The babies, sensing Stephen could be trusted, began to tussle and romp. Harold and the smallest, Ewe, reached for Bugs. Rosepetal and her brother, Hot Butter Popcorn, played tug-of-war over the long piece of grass. "I'll miss them," Samar said. "I hope you don't move," Stephen said. A light blinked on in Stephen's house. "I should go," he said. "If my parents see me, I should go." "Night," Samar said in a whisper. Oh, the things I wanted to say to those two. I wanted to tell them that friendship doesn't have to be hard, that sometimes we let the world make it hard. I wanted to tell them to keep talking. I wanted to make a difference, just a little difference before I left this lovely world. And so I did. I broke the rule. "Stay," I said. Chapter 30. The animals gaped at me in astonishment. Even the youngest babies knew about the "don't talk to people" rule. Bongo darted to my top branch. "Red," she cried in a strangled whisper. "You can't." "Oh, but I can," I said. "What have I got to lose?" "But," as I was saying, I returned my attention to Stephen and Samar. They were staring at me, jaws dropped, eyes wide, as frozen as Flash had been not long ago. "We're dreaming," Stephen murmured. "Right at the same time?" Samar asked. "Is that possible?" "Pinch me," Stephen said. Samar complied. "Definitely felt that," Stephen reported. "Maybe it was a dream pinch," Samar suggested. "Excuse me," I interrupted. "I have 216 rings worth of wisdom to convey, and not much time." Stephen reached for Samar's hand. "If it's a dream," he said, "at least it's a cool one." And so I began. Chapter 31. I haven't always been a wish tree. It happened in 1848, long before I was surrounded by concrete and cars, when I was just a few decades old, still a youngster by Red Oak standards. No longer a lanky sapling, I was solid and strong, but not anchored to the earth the way I am now. This was a time, like many other times, when hungry, desperate people sailed on crowded boats to settle here. Many of them ended up, as they always seem to in my neighborhood. The blue, green houses were brown then, and filled to overflowing with new arrivals. Sometimes the newcomers were welcome, sometimes they were not, but still they came, hoping and wishing as people always do. One of our new residents was a young Irish girl named Maeve. She voyaged across the Atlantic with her 19-year-old brother who died of dysentery during the trip. Their mother had passed away shortly after Maeve was born, and their father when the children were 9 and 12. Maeve was solid and plain, but when she smiled, it was like sunshine peeking through the clouds. She had a deep laugh, and her hair was as brilliantly red as my finest autumn attire. 16, alone and penniless, Maeve shared a tiny room with 5 other immigrants. She worked night and day, cleaning and cooking, and doing whatever she could to stay alive. Maeve soon discovered she was gifted at caring for the sick. She had no special knowledge, no secret remedies, but she was kind and patient, and she knew how to soothe a fevered brow with a cool cloth as well as anyone. What she didn't know, she was willing to learn. As time passed, word grew of Maeve's abilities. People brought their sick piglets and their lame horses, their coughing children and fretful babies, Always she explained that she wasn't sure she could help, but since people in the neighborhood were too poor to go to a doctor, they turned to Maeve. And since people believed she could help them get better, Maeve tried to live up to their hope. When she succeeded, and even when she didn't, patients and their families would leave small tokens for her. A whittled figurine of a bird, a hairpin, half a loaf of bread. Once someone even left a leather-covered journal with a tiny silver key that opened its lock. When Maeve was out tending to someone who was sick, people took to leaving their thank yous in my lowest hollow. It was a fresh wound then, just a couple of seasons mended. But because it faced the house where Maeve roomed and not the street, it was a safe place to leave a token of gratitude. That's when I realized that hollows can be a good thing for people, not just for birds and animals. Little did I know just how good. So next week, you guys, I'm going to continue with chapter 32. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think Big Red is going to make it? Or do you think they're going to chop him down? I don't know. Hope you're having a good week, you guys. Remember to pick up a book and, come back and let's finish this story and let's make our own little wish tree, shall we?